Do you play music differently on Thursdays?
Because
you know your audience?
No, not really.
Okay.
I've been
DJ Mike.
I've just been doing a little bit more disco lately. I've gotten really into disco. I saw.
We have so much to talk about. I don't even know where to start.
All right, But
I have to tell you about my dream.
Okay. Are we rolling, Jeremy?
Oh no. Oh, okay.
No. We're gonna start there. For those in the listening audience that couldn't listen to, we weren't rolling. Damn. I was gonna give a shout out to George Benson.
It would be good because I needed that this morning, especially after what happened last night. This was just critical that my time in the room started with that song.
Okay. All right. Hang on. Let me make sure that video is rolling. Video, you recording? Yeah? All right. Thank you, Bob. Hey, it's Thursday.
Is that you pressing every button?
Yeah.
Do you pretend to be every role at Metalark? Do you just talk to yourself?
I have a button that just yells at Bob, the engineer. And we're rolling on all fronts. So I like to play music before the shows. And on Thursday, I do like my audience because David seems to appreciate all the types of music that I play. I've been playing disco for the last couple of weeks. I was playing a George Benson song, a classic, Give Me the Night. And he was bobbing his head ferociously. Yeah, I would say you love that track. That's a deeper cut. It's not a song.
Is that considered a deep cut?
It's a deeper cut for the genre. I think it's George Benson's arguably his best song. But you were feeling it. But
I think a deep cut is about an artist, a non-well-known song of an artist.
That's a fair. I just don't think that he's like that well-known of an artist. And maybe I'm just doing what I did because I discovered George Benson like in my late 20s. I wasn't familiar with his catalog, so that's probably just my own story and projecting on stuff.
So I love when you play music because the way it works on Thursdays is that I record nothing personal before doing this with you. So it's an especially early morning for me, although every morning's early. And last night, or this whole month, I'm doing playoff pre and post game for CBS. So I get back to the hotel after the post game show at about 1:30. And I then have to prepare for the next day's pregame show because there's a game tonight, Game 5. So I'm doing keys to the game and coming up with my talking points. Then I'm finalizing the rundown for nothing personal. So then you find it that it's 3 a.m. and I have to record starting at about 6:30 in the morning. But I took an Ambien. Not ideal. So I needed to make sure I got some sleep, and I have not been sleeping, and I've been in this hotel in Stamford forever. I'm tired. So in my dream, there is a terrible alarm going off, the sonar alarm noise, and it's in my dream, and I can't get it to stop because I don't think it's an alarm. It's somebody who's doing something to me from my life, my previous life, who's now in my dream, who has not been in a dream for a very long time and is in my dream, and I can't get the noise to stop. And I'm blaming it on her. And then my eyes pop open and it's my phone alarm going off. But my phone alarm is the song Every Day by Michael Bublé. But I got a new iPhone and forgot to change the alarm setting back to Every Day. So the alarm, which never wakes me because I'm always awake, the alarm which wakes me was set to the factory setting of this ridiculous noise that was in my dream. And the poor people in the rooms surrounding me at this hotel, it was 16 minutes of that alarm of real time until I realized what was going on. That was my morning, which is why I loved the fact that you were playing music.
Terrible alarm. If it took 16 minutes to wake you up.
That's how tired I was. And that's the reality that I'm not used to in my brain. When I hear the song Every Day, my eyes open because that's been my alarm for so long.
Every day.
But not this noise. It was very bizarre.
Does Michael Bublé enter your dreams? Does it work the other way with the song Every Day by Michael Bublé? Like you're in a conversation, all of a sudden over the loudspeakers, Michael Bublé starts.
Oh, you got loudspeakers? I've got Michael Bublé walking into his room.
Does Michael Bublé appear in your dreams?
I love that question. One time.
Whoa, that's a moment of silence right there.
Hey now. All right. Okay.
Is this a family show?
All right, Michael Bublé.
Michael Bublé appeared in my dream after I watched for the third time a movie called Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh. By the way, did you know?
Live, die, repeat.
There you go. Did you know they changed the name, David?
Yes, which is so insane to me, and I'm not willing to accept that.
Me
name
neither.
change.
Me neither.
So it's Edge of Tomorrow.
It's a better title, I think. Live, die, repeat.
No.
Yes,
No,
it's
Edge of
Tomorrow is
because
just
you're
like
always on the
a
edge
random
of
name.
tomorrow.
No.
It's a random name generator of a
it's a
movie
better
title.
tagline.
I'll give you Live, Die, Repeat. First of all, is a tagline. Number one. Number two, it is a more descriptive title, but it's not a better. Edge of Tomorrow is so cool. Zach Harper and I have a show on Mad Dog Sports Radio that happens like right on the cusp of turning midnight on the East Coast, and we wanted to name it Edge of Tomorrow, and we got shut down.
You should call it Live, Die, Repeat.
You just need a better lawyer, I mean.
Yeah. I didn't want it to raise.
I mean, I would say
to that
Edge
level.
of Tomorrow sounds like a random name generator, but so does
No.
Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah, Live, Die, Repeat. Come on, man. It's corny.
I mean, but I know what it's about at
Edge
that
of
point.
Tomorrow. Wow.
Edge of Tomorrow is a more profound way of saying Live, Die, Repeat.
One of the coolest titles in movie history. Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah. It just feels...
Are people making the connection
generic.
or not? Do you think?
That they're the
Like,
same movie?
are people with me? Emily Blunt?
Tom
Or do they
Cruise.
associate her as married to the guy from The Office?
I think they associate her probably with
Quiet Place.
Quiet Place. Devil Wears Prada, I would say.
No.
Boy, she really burst on the scene.
She did, but Quiet Place is probably the most popular movie she's been in.
I'd say Devil Wears Prada. Anyway, agree
I
to
would
disagree.
say Edge of Tomorrow.
So,
Okay.
David, I don't want to do... All right, I'm going to explain to you what happened to me this morning. I was playing disco music. I turned to Jeremy Taché, and he's like, hey, did you know that there was a no-hitter in the World Series last night? I was like, what? Wow. Wait, what? For real? He's like, yeah, combined no-hitter. And here's where I'm at with baseball right now, and I don't want to do the baseball is boring show. I'm not. But I got a text in a group chat that said Astros no-hitter through 6. I had 3 TVs going. I was not compelled to switch any of them to Astros no-hitter through 6. I was like, it's a blowout. It's not a compelling game. It probably won't be a no-hitter. And if it is, meh. And sure as shit, congratulations, Houston Astros, because what an achievement. However, a combined no-hitter just doesn't count for me. It just doesn't do it for me. No-hitters don't do it for me, let alone a combined no-hitter.
What?
A no-hitter by one
I
pitcher.
can't
the
even
World
deal with
Series.
this.
If it
Can
was
you just
one
tell me-
pitcher, if it was one
Yes.
pitcher, start to finish, I'd be like, all right, cool. I'd watch that one pitcher. But a combined no hitter, the Astros do combined no hitters all the time. It would appear.
Mike, can you just tell me what was on the 3 TVs before I
Yeah.
give you my thoughts?
Yeah, I had Tyler Hero's game-winning shot against the Sacramento Kings.
Travel.
I had Interview with the Vampire, episode 2, and I would love to talk about Interview with the Vampire with you just a little bit at the end of this show. And I had AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite on the left screen.
I am
if I had
despondent right now.
if I had a 4th screen, it would have been on the Penguins game.
What did the group text have to say to get you over to the World Series? Like, what if the group text was like Aaron Nola just pooped on the mound?
Or everybody's naked on the field. Would that do it?
I think it would have taken someone telling me like Tyler Hero is at the dish with the game on the line.
No, but that's not right. Like, answer that question seriously. Is it nudity? Is it
No.
bowels?
I think-
is it a fight? What about a bench clearing brawl?
Well, I would
you
definitely.
professional?
Look, I'll give you that. If the baseball players were nude, I'd watch. But
Okay, what
but
about the bench
realistically,
clearing brawl?
what it would take for me, bench clearing brawl, I'd catch it on Twitter. What it would take for me is
Maybe offense is more exciting. What if it was 9-9 in the top of the
No,
sixth?
no.
What if it was a
it was close?
a bench clearing ball that still hasn't ended? Like it's ongoing.
If
Pandemonium.
it was like, oh, tune in right now, they're
Yeah,
still
they're
fighting.
still fighting. It's
They're
been
just
20
rolling
minutes
around
and
on the
just-
ground. I would say just less compelling things on TV than. And let me tell you, that's not a high bar that I established
it's
with video on demand and a Kings basketball game and a
Well, that was a
Wednesday
good
night
game.
cable
That was a- hold on.
wrestling show.
that was a good.
You're
game.
our
Hey,
worst
Jeff
nightmare.
Jarrett showed up. All right, that was a surprise. No one expected Double J to be working in his 5th promotion in 1 year. So congratulations to
that
the
we
Houston
could do?
Astros. Nothing.
Can we do a focus
Nothing.
group right now?
Congratulations.
Nothing.
Cody and
Nothing.
I are trying.
Nothing. So I was in Buffalo, a great sports town, and people were lined up at the bar watching the World Series. I'm like, oh, this is like from a bygone era, and I kind of got sucked into game 1 and I saw the Phillies come back, I was like, hey, it's pretty cool. It seems to be a back and forth roller coaster of a World Series. That's all right. I may check back in. Is game 7 going to go up against Sunday Night Football?
Yes.
No, I got Patrick Mahomes on my fantasy team. I'm not, and Kadarius Toney. I've been
You
holding on to
have
that
3
piece for a while.
screens.
Yeah, I have 3 screens. So yeah, no,
and not one screen will show a game 7.
It will make one of my 3 screens.
Now, are you? Is this with Interview with the Vampire, or are you assuming you're gonna be finished?
No, that
Sunday
gets
Night
cut.
Football. When I have Mahomes going in my fantasy league, and my wife likes watching Patrick Mahomes too. That everyone understands, even though it's not a great game. Chiefs Titans will get the.
Are you saying that your wife enjoys watching Patrick Mahomes as well, or Patrick Mahomes II, which is the actual Patrick Mahomes that you're referring to?
As well, in addition to me.
Got it.
Patrick Mahomes could be pitching the no-hitter, and I'd find that really interesting. Look, man, I'm pissing so many people off. I'm doing it because I got this sarcastic delivery, and people think that I'm messing with them. I understand. Baseball is a sport of great history, and people in our audience love it. And what happened last night was really cool. David, you're the host of Nothing Personal. I'm sure you've been trying to put this in perspective all night, so please put it in perspective for me and tell me why I'm an asshole about this.
Well, first of all, I would never call you that, because why would I do that to a customer? The answer is it's not that cool. It just doesn't happen a lot. But the math that I'm doing today, as soon as I'm done with this show, is the following. And I couldn't get it done last night because of my dream. I need to find out the total number of Major League Baseball games that have been played in the history of baseball. Then I need to find out the number of total no-hitters. Then I'm going to divide and see how often a no-hitter happens in baseball. Then I'm going to find out the number of total World Series games. And anybody listening out there, if you'll do the math for me, that'd be amazing. The total number of World Series games played, and then divide by 2, because Don Larson in 1956 had a perfect game. And now, 66 years later, Christian Javier and 3 relievers, I named them on Nothing Personal, but not here, 3 relievers combined for a no-hitter. So what's the math? Is it now more common in the World Series, or is it way less common in the World Series? Or is it exactly on point statistically that we were due for a no-hitter in the World Series? This is what I want to know. And once I have the answer to that, then I will address whether or not what happened last night is cool. What I do know what happened is that the series is tied at 2. And in any 7-game series, when you have a series tied at 2, it's become a 3-game series. And this 7-game series first became a 5-game series because it was tied at 1. Now it's become a 3-game series because it's tied at 2. And that's cool because people watch, and you're the perfect example. It's going to make your top 3 shows watched if there is a game 7. And we are now more likely to have one than ever. And the whole schedule got changed because of a rainout. They were not supposed to play game 7 on Sunday against Sunday Night Football. It was supposed to be Saturday night, but they instead moved the entire series back by a day, which is why not only is there a game tonight where the Eagles and the Phillies play at the same time, but there's a game Sunday night, if necessary, which will be Sunday Night Baseball and game 7.
That is a television disaster for Fox right now. Granted, Thursday Night Football is on Amazon Prime, so it'll be interesting to see in this new world of a streaming exclusive NFL game how that actually takes away from the World Series
and
audience.
It's Texans.
It's a Texans. It's a 14-point spread. The Eagles are undefeated, but I know in Philadelphia the Phillies will outrate the Eagles.
The World Series actually has a chance tonight with the Texans.
I discussed this on the show this morning, Mike.
In
Let's
Philadelphia,
really think this through. Think this through. Yes.
There's a lot of 2 TV households, and Phillies are getting the one.
Here's
the one
what I say. Rob Manfred is calling up Roger Goodell and saying, listen, do me one favor. Can we not announce what the numbers are in Philly if the Eagles outdraw the Phillies? But if the Phillies outdraw the Eagles, we're going to announce it. Can you do me that one solid? Now, it's not about Amazon Prime because I'm 94% sure that the game in Philadelphia and in Houston is on Fox because they do a side-by-side, not making the home market stream it. I can't confirm that because I haven't been in a market that's had a Thursday night game yet, but I believe that's the case.
David, question. Mike just said, oh, well, I'm sure a lot of people in Philly are going to have 2 TV screens going to watch Eagles and Phillies at the same time. How do the Nielsen or the ratings in general, how do they account for people who have multiple screens in their household? Or do they?
Yes. So they don't. And the whole Nielsen ratings thing inside the industry, as you know, it's such a bunch of crap, right? They don't count certain things. They sometimes count bars, sometimes don't count bars. It used to be, do people realize it used to be like a machine?
A box,
where a box where people had to write down, you're a Nielsen family. Hey, what did you watch Wednesday at 9:00? The Love Boat. All right, Love Boat got one person, and then they add up everyone and their boxes. Now it's a little more electronic and a little more button pressing and a little more Orwellian. But still, ratings are done for PR. They're announced, but that's not what networks use when they are making offers to leagues or they're buying product. It's really not about the ratings. It's much more about the subscription fees and the amount of money that's coming in. So it's just not a big deal, but it's still terrible PR when you have to say, hey, our World Series got beaten by an NFL regular season game in the market of a World Series team.
Nielsen has been reporting on Thursday Night Football on Amazon, and I would say the streaming platforms actually have more representative data because they actually can track real time how many people are watching things. I saw that Jags Broncos, an NFL game behind a paywall on ESPN Plus, was the single most watched thing in ESPN Plus's history. Jags Broncos,
at 9:30 a.m.
Eastern
Just
time.
get ready, though. Get ready. Streaming is where it's at. And people, if you're not on the boat, then as Jason Bateman would say in Up in the Air, get on the boat. And George Clooney walks out of the office. So there's going to be a time when Monday Night Football is not on network TV at all. It's all on the streaming networks. ESPN Plus is going to be where you're going to have to go. They're not ready to do it yet, but it's going to come within 5 to 10 years, guaranteed.
The NBA is talking now about selling a streaming exclusive package. The NFL has the NHL has a streaming exclusive package. MLS has gone exclusive to streaming, taking away broadcast rights from home market. So this isn't a future that's off in the distance. It's very much the present with a lot of sports.
The Clippers as well.
The Clippers.
Their local broadcasts all.
Yep. I think
it wasn't very long ago where you saying it would be a flex where you would say, hey, I've got 3 screens. And that's not a flex anymore. And it's not like picture in picture or 3 TVs. Mm-hmm. There are some people who do 3 TVs. But now there are shows, and when you're programming shows, you're doing it assuming everybody has multiple screens. Because what counts as a screen today is not what counted as a screen 20 years ago.
Correct.
So if you have an iPad and a phone, you are a 2-screen viewer.
Yeah. Most people would think that having 2 screens is, as David said, a flex, and they wouldn't realize that they themselves have 2 screens. Their iPhone, they're often watching 2 things at the same time, and it's probably not registering. I guess you kind of put it in perspective in that it just means a longer series, but it is pretty rad that there was a no-hitter, I guess. Combined no-hitters, I mean, the Astros do this. I couldn't tell you the last no-hitter that was thrown in baseball. It used to mean more for whatever reason. It's just a different
sport now. It's a different sport, right? Don Larson, in his perfect game, pitched the same number of pitches over 9 innings as Christian Javier did in 6 innings, 97 pitches. And the reason why you take Christian Javier out there is that Game 7 is not an impossibility. And it'll give him 3 days of rest where he and McCullers can both be available for a Game 7. And there's no reason to keep him in. There's no upside to it. When you've got a lockdown bullpen like the Astros have, who haven't pitched since Game 1 on Friday, you got to get him in the game, which is why you saw Abreu and Montero and Presley there. I flexed the names of the bullpen for the audience, but that you got to get them work. It's why you saw the Phillies in a game that they were losing. They brought in Robertson and they brought in Eflin. They needed work. And Sir Anthony Dominguez, who is another bullpen arm, will I guarantee you he pitches today in the middle innings.
David, how prevalent is pitch tipping? And have you had any experiences for the Marlins in the playoffs where pitch tipping factored in?
We try every game, not just in the playoffs, every regular season game. We have people who are assigned like bench players. That's their job. Look and study the pitcher and see if the pitcher is tipping. And the minute you know your own pitcher is tipping, because you don't just study the opposing team's pitcher, you're also looking at your pitcher. And the way you know something's happening is if there is a result that is not expected and then it happens again. One mistake by a pitcher that gets squared up by a hitter, the way Bryce Harper was sitting on that breaking ball by McCullers and just absolutely crushed it. The front office says, all right, what a crappy pitch. He just got beaten. Harper's playing well. Move on. Then when you see another player, whether it's Bohm or Brandon Marsh, the 24-year-old trade line acquisition from the Angels,
I was stunned.
A power hitter.
Hold on. I was stunned to find out that Brandon Marsh guy wasn't Jason Worth. Yeah. I thought for sure that was Jason Worth.
Jason Worth is my age, I think.
Come back from the dead.
I thought for sure. Like you impressed me because you were rattling off relievers for teams, and it sounds like you know what you're talking about. I never doubted that when it comes to baseball, but it is a knowledge flex. If you asked me to name a reliever from either team, I'd cover both my bases by just saying Brad Lidge, and I'd move on.
Brad Lidge was just on TV recently.
I mean, it's a house divided.
In a long time.
It's a house divided for Brad Lidge.
Did anyone else think this was like Angels in the outfield karma coming back to the Astros? Like I had a Christopher Lloyd invisible on the mound moving the guy's glove up and down with what pitch he was throwing.
So I hadn't thought about that. I think we should. Can we just review the tipping pitches thing so I can answer that just very quickly?
Yes. And then we have to get to the real sports topic that dominates Daniel Snyder.
Dusty Baker said that there was no tipping, but he didn't really say it. Lance McCullers said, I just got beaten. He was tipping his pitches. It's clear as day, and everyone knew it. And the sad part for me was why the Astros didn't pull him or at least visit the mound to tell him what he was doing and try to have it changed, because it was obvious. And what you're looking for pitches, tipping pitches, is you're looking at the player from the neck up, whether there's anything with his mouth or with his tongue, whether they're doing anything with the angle of their head. Then you're looking mid-range. You're looking at the glove. You're looking at the torso. And then you're looking bottom below the belt. That's, you sort of separate the body into quadrants, and you're looking for patterns, and then you're looking for pitches from the patterns, and then you're seeing how hitters are reacting to it. The way the Phillies squared up those McCullers pitches two nights ago, that's tipping pitches. That is textbook tipping, and that's how that goes. Lance McCullers doesn't give up 5 home runs like that. Just doesn't. And that's when you know as a front office that it's happening. And that would be one of the only examples where we would actually go into the dugout as a front office if no one would answer the phone. If we see the tips that are happening and we get it confirmed, we'll go down and make sure that it stops, or make sure the player's made aware of it, or make sure that the manager takes the pitcher out. But in terms of our run in 2003, we tried to find the Yankees tipping pitches and couldn't. We tried to find our guys tipping pitches and we couldn't. When we gave up runs, it was just ineffectiveness.
If there's ever been a stat that supports that it was tipping pitches, 4 out of the 5 home runs he allowed in Game 3 came on off-speed pitches. Prior to that game, McCullers hadn't given up a single home run on 651 off-speed pitches thrown this season.
Crazy, right? And that's what happens when you're sitting on a pitch. With tipping pitches, it's imagine a player knowing what's coming. That's the whole point of the garbage can and of the buzzers, right? It is such an advantage to the hitter. The whole thing of why hitting is so hard is you don't know if it's going to be 100 miles an hour below your chin, or if it's going to be a slider that spins to your back foot, or if it's going to be away and you're going to have to lunge for it. And you've got like a quarter of a millisecond to figure out where to put the barrel of a bat. That's a circular small thing. It's impossible.
What's the equivalent of that, I mean, in like basketball? Like, you know, a team sets, like whenever the coach says, like, points at his elbow, you know exactly what they're going to do.
Let me tell you something. Basketball is all about everyone knows what everyone's going to do. Stop me. Okay? Like, it's legit.
Wow.
I will give you my playbook. Stop me. Because,
they are not very creative with that elbow thing. They're just like, they just like touch their elbow. And then
I'll give you a great example, Chris. We used to have, again, an elbow series, right? And depending on what happened, there was elbow weak, elbow strong, elbow sack, elbow bump. Like, there are all these different things. And so there's advanced scout asked one of our guys one day, he's like, yo, how do you guys do it? Because we see Mike D'Antoni call touch elbow and then like scratch his hair. And then one time you guys are running elbow weak, one time's elbow strong. How do you guys handle all that? And our assistant coach stared at him and then started laughing. He's like, what's so funny? He's like, Mike's not calling. I mean, Mike is calling elbow. The rest of it is Steve Nash. Steve Nash is deciding. He's looking around and he's like, okay, we're going to do strong this time. Like, what you saw was Mike actually scratching his
he
hair.
just had an itch.
Yeah, he just had an itch. He didn't-
The explanation's boring. He just had an itch. All right,
Get
so
some Head and Shoulders for that.
I'm proud of us because we led with the World Series against my better judgment, by the way, but there was a no hitter. So congratulations, baseball fans. I think congratulations us. We did it.
Good job. Good
Now
job,
there's
everybody.
two
Good job.
massive stories in other sports that we need to talk about. Daniel Snyder and the latest evolution on the Kyrie Irving saga. Let's start there. Kyrie Irving and the Nets in the Anti-Defamation League put out a joint statement, a statement that did not feature an apology from Kyrie Irving, an announcement that he was going to be donating to the cause. Your takeaway from yet another Kyrie moment that I think misses the mark, David.
I spent 20 minutes this morning talking about this, and I'm gonna summarize and tell you one thing of note that I didn't get to on Nothing Personal. Where's Adam Silver? I'm just curious. Is he on vacation?
Mm-hmm.
He's plenty happy to give you quotes about Myers Leonard. Plenty ready to talk about how ridiculous it is what he did. Find him, give a statement. Where are you, Adam? I'm so angry about this situation, not because I'm Jewish. This is not about anti-Semitism. This is about how we allow certain players to get away with something and other players not to. And it's all based on politics, race, talent. And I don't get it. What Kyrie Irving did with the ADL, don't blame the ADL. That's their job to raise money. They're scouring the earth looking for racists and looking for opportunities to try to get settlements and donations. That's what they do, so they can do programs to try to cure the world of racism and anti-Semitism. Don't blame the Nets for doing whatever they can to get something announced, some sort of punishment. But the tone of his statement and Kyrie's words was so disingenuous that it's laughable. Do the Nets or Kyrie actually believe that anyone believes what he said? That wants to be a beacon of light? He's a beacon of darkness and anger and hatred. That's it. $500,000 that he gets to deduct, by the way, as a charitable donation. And Myers Leonard, where are you? Disappeared.
David, let me ask you a
I'm
question.
angry. I'm sorry, Mike.
No, it's all right, man. But like, this is the question I'm asking. What is a reasonable inference we can make on why Adam Silver is not forward on this? Is there some sort of technicality or legality issue? Because it just seems like a very odd place for him to not have a strong voice. And by the way, we mentioned this on the show the other day. The original statement that the NBA put out and the NBPA put out mentioned, hey, we're totally against anti-Semitism, but they never mentioned him by name, Kyrie, or why they're having this conversation. It's just like out of the blue. I'm not here for people who cut down trees. We need trees. And then just walking away like, well, that's great, but why are you bringing this up out of the blue?
It's funny. Were they fooling anybody when they did those original statements? I like that. It's very hard in PR when something happens because you feel like you want to get something out. You don't want to be quiet for too long because you want to start controlling the narrative. But on the other hand, you're always cautioned by crisis PR people. Let's make sure we've got the facts. Make sure before we say anything that what we're saying is something that we want to say and that should be said. So the NBA and the NBAPA were only too happy to get it out there. And you're so right. People look at that as sort of, oh, that must be the Kyrie thing. But the general rule of thumb is when you make a statement is that you explain to people context, why you're doing it. In response to Kyrie Irving's Instagram promotion of a hate-filled movie, we believe there's no place for anti-Semitism, something like that. Instead, it's just like a dangling modifier. Adam Silver is Jewish. Is that why he's not saying anything? No. He was happy to say something about Myers. Is he on vacation? Doesn't matter. There's communication right now. There's cell phones, etc. The only possible explanation is he is scared. Adam Silver is scared of Kyrie and Kyrie's army, because Kyrie has an army as an omnist, that there will be some sort of blowback if he is too harsh on him. And that is part of the problem, that we have somehow enabled Kyrie to be Kyrie and that he is the victim. And it absolutely makes me crazy.
But David, the NBA, I mean, I can remember when they came down hard on Kobe Bryant for using a homophobic slur at a referee in the middle of a game. Same thing with Rajon Rondo. And at a time that I would say that the tolerance for LGBTQ people was a lot lower than it is now, right? The tolerance for homophobic language, particularly in sports, was a lot higher back then than it is now. And yet they took on Kobe Bryant, who was at the time the biggest face in the sport pretty much, and were unapologetic about this. It seemed a little weird to me that Kyrie, who was not as nearly as popular as Kobe was, and who's right now probably at the lowest level of popularity he's ever had, and
which is hard to believe.
And on the heels of what's happening in the country from, what happened in 2017 in Charlottesville, all the way through the line to Kanye West in the last couple of weeks, I kind of feel like this was a slam dunk no-brainer. No one's going to fight them on this one. Why would this be the moment where the league is, quote unquote, scared of the power of a player who most people, I would imagine, look at as kind of a circus act, a joke when it comes to these opinions?
So that may be the answer to your question, because Adam may not want to give it oxygen. He may say it's sufficient to have the Nets and ADL, because the league was consulted on all this. You do not do anything like this without speaking to the commissioner's office and the commissioner himself. They see the statement. They see what the fine is going to be. They are approving it. There's conversations with the union. All of that is happening at once. Adam Silver gets to choose where he takes a backseat and where he doesn't. He's got advisors who help him. And my guess is what the advisors said is there's nothing you're going to be able to add to this conversation. So therefore, stay quiet. That's the general rule of thumb. Unless you're adding, then don't say anything. But in this case, he could have added. And his advisors are wrong, because the way he adds is by coming out and saying, this is what the Nets want to do, and this is what Kyrie wants to do. It's not enough. This is what we're doing as a league so that everyone understands, players, staff, fans, sponsors, that there's a certain way of talking and a certain way of promoting and thinking that is not acceptable. And we are using Kyrie Irving as an example. And they had the opportunity. Now, in theory, they still have the opportunity if they come out today, but that expires 24 hours after a team does something. I believe that your ability to act has expired.
If you guys were talking honestly with Adam Silver in a private moment that wasn't public, are you totally sure that he's not afraid of the slippery slope of guys on social media not saying with their own mouths something, but linking to something, that he's not afraid of setting the precedent of you can't share things in public, even if it's not with your own mouth? Because the things you're talking about with Kobe Bryant and everyone else, it's things that were spoken from their mouth. Are you sure that I'm just trying to figure out what Silver, if there's another explanation other than he's scared of losing customers.
Your explanation is that he is scared, but in a different way. I don't think there's a slippery slope. It's just puzzling. Was there a back and forth that there wasn't an apology? There's no apology in this statement. Was this negotiated on behalf? The slippery slope, I think, is a little dangerous because, it's anti-Semitism. There's a very clear line here. I don't think he's worried about precedent that you can't weigh in. You don't draw comparisons to anti-Semitism to other civil rights causes. This is anti-Semitism. This isn't a question of your freedom of speech. This is a workplace, and he should be punished.
But the question I'm asking you is what Silver's honest explanation would be. David is saying the only explanation there can be is the one that he's offering. I don't have a better one, but I'm asking, are there any others that Adam might choose from?
I won't lie. That sounds very likely, given that players share a bunch of things, including music lyrics, by the way, or quotes from things that are in quote unquote popular media.
Guys, it's anti-Semitism.
Are you kidding?
No, but no,
can we take a minute?
No. I'll give you a great example.
This is not in the same class.
It is. No, hold on. Anti-Semitism and racism is in the same class. It's not.
No, but sharing a song that has a bad word in it is not in the same class as sharing the movie
absolutely.
that Kyrie.
We're talking about pro-racism. Like the comparisons that Dane was drawing was being able to weigh in on important civil rights discussions and drawing comparisons that this might be that one. It's very clearly hate speech. I understand what you're talking about, rap lyrics. No, this is hate.
But absolutely, I get that, and I guess the distinction you could make is one is a work of fiction, right? Rap, music lyrics.
I'm just saying, when you say rap lyrics, it's going to sound to like, whoa, they can say the N-word.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things like extreme misogyny. Go ahead and Google
You mean like a White Snake video?
More misogynistic than that.
More like a 3 6 Mafia Oscar nominated song.
Right. That a team plays.
That a team plays, and like they're chanting "Whoop that trick," but this is not. It's not on the same stratosphere.
Again, though,
totally
Mike, I'm just asking you. We are faced right here. We're puzzled. Adam Silver is silent. And I'm asking you for other explanations than what David is saying, which is there is only one. I'm asking you, if Adam Silver were sitting right here and he could be totally honest about it, not afraid of consequences, and we're just talking about this the way he has to be talking about in private, what could be his reasoning from his mouth?
Is that directed toward me, Dan?
Yes.
I gave you my explanation.
David's theory is the best one right now, because if there was ever a time for Adam Silver to be shy about throwing his weight around, it might have been the Sarver thing because it was complicated. Some time passed, and I think he started hitting the right notes. He did that interview with TNT where he spoke about it at length. For whatever reason, this is a miss by Adam Silver, I think.
He's not having a great 2022. In retrospect, he's just getting shellacked left and right. Yeah, he used to be.
He was. He was the number one all through COVID. The leader, the beacon of light.
The NFL wanted him
shut down.
I'm reading a story here, David. We talked about this the other day with Business Insider is saying that Adidas executives took 2 minutes to decide on cutting ties with Kanye West. And now the reports are that Kanye West represented 40% of Adidas's profits, not 10% of Adidas's profits. Do you believe that? Because we were talking last week about how businesses move slowly, and the reporting now is it took 2 minutes. Is that accurate, or is that Adidas trying to leak information that seems more favorable to Adidas?
Boy, it certainly sounds like the latter. I'm just curious, though, when did that clock start? Because you could always say that the final decision is like at the end of Fletch. Oh, God, she died so suddenly. She was in a coma for months. No, like the very end was so very sudden. What does that mean, 2 minutes? Which 2 minutes? The 2 minutes after he made his final comment, or the 2 minutes after? I just don't know. So I'm not buying any of that. That sounds and is a total reverse cover-up because they're getting such crap for having acted so slowly and ridiculously. And that's what companies do. That's what people do when they're on the wrong side of history and they think they're on the right side. And then all of a sudden they realize, oh, crikeys, there's no coming back for me. We better change the story. That's what Adidas is doing. In terms of what percentage of profits, I can manipulate any set of books you want. And I can show different percentages and assign expenses to different revenue centers. And I can show that one part of the business is a bigger part or a smaller part of the overall business. And I can make it to the narrative that I want to make it. So I'm not at all impressed by this new information from Adidas. Are you?
I was just wondering whether it was true or not. Whether it could. I see the reporting.
There's no way to know.
And I see the reporting, and I'm assuming that somebody gets advantages from the reporting. I'm always wondering where it is these things come from.
I stayed out of it because there's no real way for us to know, but I assume because of all the intellectual property, because of how complicated this is, especially with Kanye West, who promises to be litigious, I just thought it took a while to mobilize the legal department and make sure that you had all your P's and Q's in line, given that this is a publicly traded company and it is a major piece of Adidas. They were synonymous. Yeezy was Adidas. I ventured back to Adidas because I like some of the Yeezy designs. I own many of those shoes. I haven't worn them since, but like it was a huge draw for that. And they're going to have a very difficult time to find a pivot.
Mike, you haven't worn the shoes?
No, not since then. Kind of like
fascinating because you listen to Michael Jackson though.
No, not really. I mean, if it comes on to the party, do I go on my phone to listen to Michael Jackson? Go out of my way? No. They're don't do that with Ryan Adams, who I used to love because he stepped in it. Will I wear the Yeezy shoes again? Maybe. Right now, I'm just not feeling. The best way that I could describe it to you is, David, when I look at my closet, I do not want to wear my Yeezy shoes. I'm kind of repulsed by them at the moment. I will grab other shoes. It's just what I'm feeling right now.
Response? Are you nervous about the response of wearing them out publicly?
I think people will draw conclusions about me too if I'm out there supporting Yeezy and wearing Yeezy shoes.
Do you?
Yeah,
that's why Adidas dropped him. By the way,
I would draw.
You just said.
Yeah, if someone was like not just wearing Yeezy shoes, I mean, it's footwear. You know, most people don't have that many shoes in their closet. They aren't these big sneakerheads. Those are expensive shoes. I'm not personally going to judge somebody for wearing Yeezys.
I don't think many people are doing that. I don't think many people are doing either thing.
Yeah, but
judging others for that or making the moral decision that makes them literally virtuous from head to toe.
I mean, we're on the air, and I'm trying to. You guys are prying. I'm trying to give you more answers here than I probably should. I'm not necessarily worried about what people will think of me. Does that take part of my thought process? Yeah. At the heart of it, when I step in my shoe closet, I just don't feel like wearing Yeezys right now, and that's all that is.
It's okay to be honest. I think it's a bigger percentage than you're willing to admit, and that's totally fine. You're a public figure, and what you do, people are looking at. People post it. It definitely enters into your equation. If you're going to say it's under 50%, I'll probably say you're being delusional, self-delusional. I think it's a far bigger percentage.
All right, let's move on to Daniel Snyder. He was finally selling
boy,
and I mean, it was a chef's kiss to find out that they were under investigation for financial improprieties.
12 hours earlier, 12 hours earlier, we learn, okay, they're talking to Bank of America, and then we learn the U.S. Attorney's Office, criminal investigation, financial improprieties. That was amazing how quickly that happened after that.
So first, when you hire Bank of America or any of these investment banks or any of these groups who represent you to sell a team, it's always announced exploring options. And the Commanders were very clear to say, we're just exploring options. That is the biggest crock of horse hockey of all time. When you engage a firm like this, you're selling your team. That's it. You're not saying, oh, let's see if we can access the capital markets to try to reverse our negative cash flow and see if we can hold on. No, that's a restructuring group. You're not saying, oh, why don't we just see if we can buy out Fred Smith? No, you are engaging because you're selling the team, because you know there's 24 owners who are about to Dixie you, and you've got to get rid of the team, and you know that you're going to get the all-time record and more than the Broncos got, and you want to get a professional organization helping you with diligence and helping you do a discovery room, etc. The Commanders are being sold, and they're being sold by dragging Daniel Snyder to get a representative, by having him look at Tanya and say, you know what? We lost. There's nothing we can do now, so we might as well go out on our terms. That's all that happened with Danny Boy.
I'd go a step further and say once that announcement came out, you can bet your bottom dollar that they were pretty deep in negotiations with other potential buyers at that point. Those conversations had already started.
Bet
David.
your bottom dollar.
You don't bet your bippy. You don't need an
what is happening
bank, by
right
the way.
now?
Nobody wants to bet the top dollar.
You have used like 3 or 4 words, schnikes, bippies. Like, I don't know. You're creating an entire language. What is the bottom dollar? It's the last dollar, but where does the phrase come from? The bottom dollar.
The last dollar in your pocket. Are you willing to bet your bottom dollar, which means you're willing to go all in? I think it came before all in poker.
Let's circle back to the Nets because it's been about a week. Man, it's crazy how insane this franchise has been. So they decide to lop on top of everything that they got going on, pre-Kyrie non-apology. Ime Udoka, who's been suspended for a full season by the Boston Celtics, now finds his way to Brooklyn. This makes no sense. I know Marcus Smart came out with a quote saying he's confused by all of this. I think he speaks for all of us. How does this happen? It's okay for him to have done that if he's with another team, David? I'm confused.
The great lie is that the Nets are doing their diligence. They have to. It was supposed to be announced yesterday that the deal was done. But they have to wait now long enough so they can arguably and persuasively say that they've done their investigation. They know exactly what happened, and they've come to the conclusion that he's the right person to be the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. So there's going to be a longer window here. If the PR continues and we don't move on to the next story, which everybody basically has already, but if not, then sort of like with Chauncey Billups, where something bad came out, they waited, kept him as coach. I mean, do I have it right? Is it Chauncey Billups, who the new head coach in
Portland.
Is he a coach?
Yeah,
Portland. And didn't something come out right when he was hired that he had a problem 20 years ago or something? And then they waited. They didn't fire him. They kept him on, and now no one talks about it. So that's what the Nets are hoping is going to happen here. And so far it's working, but there's going to be a delay now, which means Jacques Vaughn is going to have the head coaching job for a few more days. It's outrageous, actually, because they're not really doing due diligence.
This isn't actually what Chauncey Billups was in terms of noise, though. What they're inheriting is recent enough, David, that it makes it really puzzling that what in one organization is worthy of a year-long suspension and another organization is given, its biggest front-facing executive job.
The Tigers wanted A.J. Hinch immediately.
What's the movie you're reviewing for us this week?
I really want to take time because Billy Corben has a new movie out called God Forbid, and I don't want to waste it if we only have 30 seconds. But if we don't, we need to have a conversation about it.
Go ahead.
God Forbid is a new movie. Billy Corben directed it, and it is about evangelicals. It is the story, and it's a very uniquely Miami story, except it's not that. So God Forbid is on Hulu. It's a story about a pool boy in the Fontainebleau, just a guy, a 21-year-old kid who all of a sudden gets hit on by a cougar who happens to be the wife of Jerry Falwell Jr., who happens to be the son of Jerry Falwell, who happens to be the first family of evangelicals, the God Squad. We do it right. We're loyal. It's all God-fearing. Oh, by the way, do you mind if I watch you have sex with my wife while I pleasure myself? Is that cool? And then if you're going to say something, hey, I'm going to bring you into a real estate deal in Miami. You're going to get rich and everything's going to be great. And then, of course, a bunch of total schemers and scammers in Miami who get involved in the real estate deal end up doing a lawsuit, yada, yada. You have a perfect documentary by Billy Corben. But the point of God Forbid is not what a scumbag Jerry Falwell is. It is not the story of the pool boy gone wrong. What he does so brilliantly, which is why Billy Corben is in the top 2 documentarians in our country right now, he explains to you the relationship of the evangelicals to the Republicans. And this is not because he's liberal, because it's not. And some people can be mistaken that it's slanted because of that. He's giving you the facts, which are the evangelicals and their power with the Republicans is so significant all the way back from Reagan up through Trump. And it happened while we were sleeping. I'm a pretty learned guy. It never occurred to me how important it was even this year or in 2016 when Trump got the endorsement by Falwell. It didn't occur to me how important that was because I live in such a bubble. I never thought about Reagan or Bush that way, that getting the endorsement from the evangelical and the Falwell family. And the fact that they're so powerful, it ought to scare you. And the fact that people believe that they are good people ought to make you wonder. And this documentary, God Forbid, will teach you what is going on for real. Get behind the curtain in a way that Billy does that's entertaining. Adam McKay was involved in the project. It flies by. It's about an hour 49, and it is time not wasted. So go watch God Forbid immediately, and then start thinking about all of the things that you thought you knew that you did not know.
You know it's good when Chris Cody all of a sudden takes an enormous interest in politics.
Oh, it was so good. It was so crazy how sloppy this guy was. For a couple $1 million, you could have gotten this kid just out of his hair, but he just was drunk with power. It was just like, this kid will never do it to me. And then his whole thing collapsed.
Well, then the kid would come back and ask for more money.
No, not this. This kid really just was like, dude, I just want to live a life. You just paid off one of my friends to shut up. Just give me a little money and I'll leave you alone forever. And this guy was like, nope, I'm just going to keep abusing you. And finally the kid's like, fuck it, I'll just take you down too then.
The thing that
He didn't abuse him, by the way. I don't think, did you use that word as for literal or no?
No, he did abuse him, but I'm saying like his whole life was ruined. And the kid at one point was just like, I just want to get out of this. Give me something. Let me just have a little something and I'll go away. Like he had no malice. He wasn't like I genuinely believe if he got paid off, he was just going to let them go. But this guy was just drunk with power.
One thing that we didn't talk about is the fact that, is it normal? Because in my life, I'd never heard of such a thing where you would pay someone to have sex with your wife and then watch it and pleasure yourself while it's going on. Like, is that a fetish? Is that a channel on RedTube that I'm not aware of?
Yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah.
So that's
we do it
the
as
thing.
a show. All of us.
We're launching
yes.
a podcast about it next week.
You're
won't believe the
launching
first
that
guest.
podcast on Metalark.
I know.
Wow.
I
All
know
right,
that.
see you later, guys.
I see you later. I know that a lot of things that are happening these days in politics seem shameless, but one of the things that I imagined when I watched that documentary was, how do the Falwells feel about seeing all of that out there? Like, how do they fear that documentary before it even comes out? Because it's such a secret shame that they had to have it exposed like that, to have that kid talking about those
Unintended.
things.
They lawyered up. I mean, if you look at that documentary, there were a bunch of things in that I'm sure Billy, and you can ask him.
Oh, it's heavily vetted by lawyers because Hulu does not want to be sued. In fact, there is more there that couldn't be in the documentary because the lawyers had to make sure that it was properly vetted.
Well, they had to put little file cards in the show from time to time. Falwells deny that there was ever somebody watching as his wife had the affair. Falwell denies that he knew of the affair, right? Certain things that you know were put in that are totally untrue, but put in because they just were trying to avoid a lawsuit. And if you're the Falwells, you're not going to try to give this movie legs. You're not going to talk about it. You're not going to sue Billy at all. You're just going to let it go away. But at the end of the day, people like that level of narcissism, they don't look in the mirror and say, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. They look in the mirror and they say, wow, that's a nice mirror.
I felt bad for the kids. Like there's family photos of like the wife, the husband, the kids, and this guy who's just banging the wife. And
You know, I mean, he was friends with the kids.
Went to the wedding.
See you later, David.
See ya.
Somehow, this seems impossible, but somehow around here, what we are, ostensibly a sports show, has managed for many, many months, to my frustration, to not talk about Herschel Walker and everything that's happening with Herschel Walker. Lalee Ibssa is an ABC News campaign reporter. You can get what she does with the show Power Trip. It streams on Hulu. The first 6 episodes are available now. New episodes drop every Sunday through Election Day. Thank you, Lalee, for being on with us. I don't even know where to start here, so I guess the place I will start, you're objective. You aspire to objectivity, but what you're seeing is so strange with Herschel Walker, so can you explain to me how it happens?
Yeah, so Herschel Walker is definitely not your typical candidate that you see running for Senate, running for really any office that we're seeing, but it's something that he capitalizes on. It cannot be overstated that he is a football legend, especially here in the state. Georgia loves their Bulldogs, and, Herschel Walker is the epitome of that. And so he really has capitalized on the fame that he's gotten from being this former football star and tried to transition it into a politics world where, he talks about the fact that if you're tired of the politicians who give you the same old speech, the same empty promises, then vote for me. I'm the non-politician, right? He calls himself a warrior for God. So he really uses the fact that he's not a politician as a way to really engage and energize supporters.
What would you put at the top of the list of things, again, and you're aspiring to objectivity, but where you say, as somebody who's covering politics, this is the behavior or these are the words of a fool?
I think that when you look at Herschel Walker in his entirety, right, you can pinpoint the certain comments, the gaffes that he makes throughout the campaign trail. And it's definitely something that Democrats, something that, those who are independents or moderates will pinpoint to as someone who is not a qualified candidate for Senate, right? But then on the flip side, you also have people that talk about, because he's not this rehearsed politician, because he makes mistakes on the campaign trail, it's somewhat relatable to them in this world. But also at the same time, Georgia is not just focused on Georgia. They're focused on control of Congress. So maybe you're having, and what we see is voters tell me, I don't necessarily agree with Herschel Walker, his behavior. They have concerns about his past, but they really want a Republican-controlled Congress and a Republican-controlled Senate. So they're willing to look past, those comments that he's made, his past behavior, because they just see him as someone who will vote down Republican Party lines.
Does he actually believe in Republican ideals, or is he simply being used by the party?
I think that when we talk about social issues, definitely, right, he really latches on to the culture wars that we're seeing, whether it's talking about, he makes claims that men are in women's sports. He talks about being pro-life, which we have seen questioned as we talk about, women coming forward with the abortion allegations against him. But overall, yes, he definitely is someone who aligns himself with conservative values. And whether he is going to have intense, nuanced debates about politics is another question once he gets into the Senate, but he will definitely vote down party lines, as we have seen him do through and through on the campaign trail and talk about.
Obviously, you can't say that all black people in one voice say anything, but more generally speaking, how do black people feel about Herschel Walker and what he's doing?
Yeah, so I think that it's really interesting because obviously Herschel Walker and Senator Warnock are two black men, and the way that they handle race and racism is starkly different. And I think that it's emblematic of what we see in the state, right? You have people that, support Senator Warnock, that agree with him when he talks about racism and discrimination in this state, and a large amount of black people in this state and around this country acknowledge the fact that there is still racism and discrimination in this state. And they want candidates to talk about that. And they want candidates to put forward policies to address those issues. But then on the flip side, you also have people that align with Herschel Walker that talk about the fact that, Walker is on his Unite America bus tour, where he talks about the fact that Democrats try to divide Americans. He says that they want white people to be seen as oppressors and black people to be seen as victims. Under me, as Herschel Walker with your senator, we can all be victorious. That's a very common campaign line that he says on the stump. So, I think that what we're seeing is most black people align with the fact that they agree that there is racism and discrimination in this state and in this country. But you also have a very small subsect of people that do want to move past the issues of race and discrimination and think that by bringing up these issues and bringing up things like systemic racism, you're making the problem worse.
I just can't imagine in Georgia, of all places, no matter how much of a hero he is, how it is that someone like, say, let's play this sound of Senior Pastor Jamal Bryant of New Birth Baptist Church. It went viral. How he, as a black man, feels about Herschel Walker doing what he is doing in Georgia, of all places.
They thought we were so slow, that we were so stupid, that we would elect the lowest caricature of a stereotypical broken black man, as opposed to somebody who is educated and erudite and focused. Y'all ain't ready for me today. Since Herschel Walker was 16 years old, white men been telling him what to do, telling him what school to go to, where to live, where to eat, where to buy a house, where to run, where to sit down, where to sleep, where to pay for abortions, where to buy a gun. And you think they not gonna tell him how to vote? In 2022, we don't need a walker, we need a runner.
It seems like he's a bit of a puppet.
Walker has actually talked about that clip on the campaign trail, especially this week since it's come out. And it kind of goes to his sort of campaign message when he talks about the fact that clips like that, right? When Senator Warnock will bring up instances where Walker will downplay racism and discrimination. Basically, what Walker says is it's Democrats and other people just trying to further divide Americans. With that clip, and it's kind of to the point what we were saying earlier is, I think that what we could see in this election is voters are okay with person coming in and just voting down Republican lines. We might be moving into this new space of politics where, character isn't as seen as the most important thing about a candidate anymore. It's about their policies and the way that they will vote. But for Walker supporters, when they do attack Senator Warnock, they usually use the argument and say that it's because he's not using his position as a senior pastor at Ebenezer for what they believe should be the teachings of God.
You don't have to put down your reporter hat here. You don't have to put down your objectivity, but I'd like an honest answer to this question. Something you have seen around Herschel Walker, that when the workday was done, you picked up the phone and you called one of your friends and it was the strangest thing. And you said, holy shit, you're not going to believe this happened today.
Yeah, I think that it would have to be with the abortion allegations and the fact that despite that there are receipts, the fact that, we just talked to the second woman, ABC News just talked to the second woman that came forward with these allegations, that Walker is sticking with his guns and that he is continuing to not only with the second woman deny the allegations, but denying the fact that he even knows this woman at all. And through, this race is still razor thin. I think that when I talk to my friends, when I come home from my campaign trail days, I always say that I think that we are going into this new world of politics where partisanship is just continuing to be the number one thing that voters care about more than character.
Straight up lies, just straight up lying to your face or being taken onto the bus and by security when he's not lying.
But if he's a Republican and he will vote for the policies that you agree with, then for a lot of voters, then that's all that matters for them.
Thank you. We appreciate your time, Lalee. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Look out now.
We were talking back here about how Brad.
I hear it.
Yeah. No, but he said as a grid of death punishment.
Oh, 5 minutes.
5 minutes as like his warm up act.
Oh shit!
Hard.
It's
whack.
No.
It stand up's a whole different thing,
man.
dude. It's a whole different thing.
I don't like talking in meetings.
I like the idea of Chris going up there and doing 5 minutes of stand up.
I would just open with my feels like temperature thing.
Unload the clip. Let him know.
I got some things written down. It honestly is some things. I know I come off as I have goals and things that I want to do. And stand up is something that intrigues me. I think I could be decent at it, but I'm not ready tonight. I'm not doing it.
It is the bravest thing, and we'll just start there because our friend Brad Williams is in town. He'll be at the Dania Improv tonight with Chris Cody, who he's trying to badger into a 5-minute set. You can get tickets at DaniaImprov.com.
He said not tonight. It's short notice.
I might do it, though.
That's what
He's
he said.
doing it tonight.
I might do it. I'm saying that just to get people to come out, but I'm definitely not doing it.
He's going to do a solid minute and a half, starting with Harry Carey. And then he's going to move into Elvis.
Look out now.
And then he's out of material. I mean,
I will just go up there and say, look out now and introduce you. That could be my set.
He is the nation's premier Elvis impersonator.
And Jay Gruden.
Robert and Kirk.
He is the nation's
Modern material.
Jack White doing an Elvis impersonation.
Look out now.
You've got a solid 3 seconds that you can do tonight.
A tight 3 seconds.
You got that? You got hi.
You can finally do your bit on opening straws.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Solid bit.
4.5 minutes to go.
If it feels like 72, it's 72.
DaniaImprov.com. Chris Cody will be there tonight performing. Brad Williams will be in the audience watching him.
Who cares about me? I'm not there. Yeah. No one will give a crap. This is the Chris Cody show.
I'm gonna be hammered.
You're gonna sound like Harry Carey, but unintentionally. Hi, everybody.
Tip your waitress.
Amin will be there tomorrow night, and I wanted to ask Amin something because the Dolphins have given Bradley Chubb 5 years, $119 million, $62 million guaranteed. And Joe Banner, the former executive, says that Chubb is worth what the Dolphins gave up for him if he's healthy. That caveat, because 22 games he has missed the last 3 years. That's 7 a year. And Amin, as a front office executive, can you please help me understand when he says if he's healthy, and he's talking about Chubb and Tua, I know that guys being injured previously can help you with some probabilities about whether they're going to be injured in the future. But I just don't know how you throw the if he's healthy caveat with any predictive knowledge at football players when any of them can get hurt at any time, at any moment. I don't know. I mean, I could say if he's healthy on every analysis I do on any player and any team in the league.
That's right. Yeah, it's not like basketball where we have players that are known to get hurt. Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, those are the guys who are like, well, if you can stay healthy, you got a good chance, but that's a risk that you're baking in. Also, the other element in basketball that makes it more complicated is the contracts, by and large, are fully guaranteed. In football, everybody gets hurt and can get hurt at any time, including in practice, right? And B, the contracts, by and large, are not guaranteed. So I don't know the particulars.
They're giving him $62 million guaranteed.
Right. So, I mean, that's however, how long?
5 years.
All right, so then when you let me use a David Samson word. When you amortize that,
it's a tough one.
Yeah, so 12 million, 12 and change as a cap hit.
He's getting $119 million for 5 years. That's not guaranteed. Half of it is guaranteed.
But I'm saying as a cap hit on the downside,
it could turn into 3 years real quick.
It could. But Dan, even with the injury concerns, like, you still got to stockpile talent, right? Like, they have to address needs. They felt like this was a good player for them to go get, even with the injury risk. I mean, you still have a very talented player for the next 5 years if he can stay healthy.
I'm not questioning it, and I'm not disputing it. I'm asking a former front office executive how the hell you do the equations on if he stays healthy in this sport.
You pray.
The sad part is my answer is probably just as good as Stugotz's, right? Because that's an element that I've never had to sit around and contemplate, right? The idea that they're all injury risks, every last one of them, right? And that's the part where, you ask yourself, how good my cap people are, how we are able to make things disappear or stretch or rearrange or get someone else to take a pay cut. Because ultimately, in a salary cap sport, every dollar devoted to something over here is one less dollar I can devote to something there, right? It's not whether Bradley Chubb is worth that money or not. It's I'm giving him this money. That means there's less money I can devote to other needs elsewhere. And if he can't play, then that is problematic.
I would love to see a report done on this, because the feeling that I kind of get, especially in that sport, because of the physical nature, because other body parts trying to overcompensate, and because of all the fast twitch stuff, generally hurt players stay hurt. You see it with J.J. Watt. You see it with Jadeveon Clowney. You have outliers. Right now, Saquon Barkley has been battling through a ton of injuries, and he's still out there every week, despite him having that label. Fred Taylor, early in his career, was a guy that got injured a ton, still ended up having a Hall of Fame career despite having nagging injuries. I just think in that sport, it is somewhat concerning if someone has an injury history. And right now, on both sides of the ball, as centerpieces, as potentially guys that are going to make the most money on our team down the line, you got Tua, who's got that injury history. You got Bradley Chubb, who's had a very uneven career because of the injuries.
You say uneven career, but this is the thing that makes this money well spent. Micah Parsons has a 32% pass rush win rate. Myles Garrett, 30%. Chubb, 27%. He's indisputably elite at winning, and you win a quarter of the time or a third of the time. You're winning at a pace that you have to give money for if you need a pass rush and want to get a pass rush with 4. They didn't give this money to Bradley Chubb. They invested $119 million in pass rush with 4. We are going to get pressure with 4 guys because we have this guy.
Because they feel good about the other side of the equation, which is Jalen Phillips, a second-round pick from the University of Miami, who's had some good moments, but could use not being the main focus of the opposing offensive line. And this is also a defense that is meant to have 2 elite corners operating at the same time. So in theory, they could still be a blitzing team, but so far they've been a blitzing team and it hasn't really worked because they don't have their star man corners in order to help them. So I do think that this defense has a real chance once they get fully healthy, but that's a question because we don't know if Byron Jones is going to be fully healthy. You mentioned hurt players stay hurt. Xavier Howard has actually been one of those players over the course of his career, and he's hurt now. So I think that this defense with Phillips and Chubb as your rushers, Jones and Howard as your corners, in theory, is an incredible pass defense.
You made that point yesterday. I think it comes down to the corners. It's great that they upgraded Bradley Chubb, who can help your pressure with 4. They were getting really good production out of Melvin Ingram and Agba earlier in the season, and it seems directly tied to those corners being injured. So I think it comes down to that. But it's a great move for Miami in that if you look at the AFC standings, you can make a solid argument that they're the 3rd best team in the AFC, and they needed to close the talent gap between them, Buffalo, and Kansas City. I heard Supatity. I think you kind of skimmed over the addition that Kansas City made with Kadarius Toney in that they can give him the Tyreek Hill playbook, and they've been struggling downfield with Mecole Hardman on those exact routes. So I like Miami. I think in a 1-game sample we saw last year, I mean, the Bengals won 2 games. They had no business winning. So anything can happen. You might as well increase the talent.
You have this odd relationship or feelings towards Kadarius Toney, like it's you and you alone. Like
you flatly said
he's a stud, dude.
No, I know he's a stud.
You flatly said that the Kansas City Chiefs didn't do anything to improve their team, and I'm telling you, they have someone that is explosive as Tyreek Hill now to fill that empty spot in their playbook.
But he hasn't played yet this year. Like that guy's always injured.
Yeah, I understand.
He's always injured.
Well, there is a lot of question into him actually being injured. Because he claims he was healthy and he had all sorts of problems with Dayball, and they showed that they were eager to get rid of him. So I was always confused. He was on a limited snap count, and whenever he touched the field, he showed his dynamism.
I think last year you could see it. He caught 10 balls for 189 yards against a really good Dallas team, and I was like, oh shit, who is this guy? He's like really fast twitch. He's a really good player. This year they just didn't mesh with the culture that Brian Daboll was trying to set in New York, and they moved him out, and automatically he just starts practicing. Both of his hamstrings were hurt all season. All of a sudden he comes in and he's like, oh, I'm ready to play. And he's going to play this week, and he's a legitimate field stretcher and has just quick twitch movements that a lot of people don't have.
Is dynamism a word?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. Right?
Of course it's a word.
It is?
Dynamism is definitely a word.
If Whittingham says it's a word, it's a word.
I feel like Whittingham would pronounce it dynamism.
Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. If Whittingham says it's a word, is it indeed a word? Amin has something for everybody in the
Google
shipping.
Confirms it is indeed a word, and you are indeed an idiot.
Chris asked. I mean,
Amin,
I saw you guys going back and forth like, is it a word?
I didn't know either. I mean,
you struggled so much with alas yesterday.
Alas is what he called it.
alas.
Amin has something for everybody in the room, it seems like, that we have not gotten to yet. He's furious about last week's conversation about stretching, for example.
Stretching is in question. Have you ever been to a professional sports game like before the game starts? What do you think they're doing out there?
There's like 8 stretching tables courtside. We were there for the Heat Sixers series last year, and the Sixers don't even warm up by playing basketball. The entire team, like, there's a series of stretching tables. There's all the local TV reporters and the stretching tables fighting for every inch of real estate by the side of the court.
I want to get stretched. Someone stretch me.
Yeah.
Like right now?
You should have been here yesterday.
In general, I think, right? Like, stretch me out.
No, right now.
Well, I don't know what to do with that. Can you feel the tension in the air right now? I know I can. I can feel it all the way in my plums. No, honestly, you guys went around the room and tried to sound as kind of like matter of fact as you could. No, actually, there's a lot of studies out there that show the stretching may be harmful. Like, who the hell? What studies are these? Are you getting this from Kyrie Irving's personal collection?
No, there are questions about that.
Where?
I don't question it.
I work in sports. I have never heard any questions about
there
stretching.
There are questions about stretching.
Yes.
It's the thing you do before you play in a game.
I understand. Thank you, Stugotz.
No, but I mean, who could question that?
Organizations spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on stretchers, but it wouldn't be hard to look on the internet and find credible articles about people that's saying that stretching isn't what you think it is as an advantage.
Find anything on the internet.
What? I mean, that's Tom Brady's whole thing. Pliability.
There are secret societies of stretchers out there, and they're true, by the way.
Tom Brady's whole thing, as we look at a physique that is relatively, compared to his contemporaries, unspectacular. His whole thing is pliability.
No,
that's what TB12 is.
You don't even have to, like, Tom Brady is such an extreme example. Literally every goddamn basketball game, football game, baseball game, soccer. What are they doing? You telling me globally? Every one of these multi-billion-dollar corporations has it wrong, and some kook on the internet, he's got it wrong. Actually, you're actually hurting yourself. Like, no, there is no. I refuse to even entertain that. And the fact that it was floated out here, and the reaction was like, huh, interesting. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I told Greg Cody before he attempted 50-yard field goals, he better stretch out. And he didn't. And he pulled his hammy. I mean, I witnessed it. I saw it. I saw what happens to a man when he doesn't stretch before he goes out and does some athletic activity.
Data. Stugotz was out in the field.
I don't hear anyone else bringing anything.
Gathering research with the guinea pig Greg Cody trying to kick field goals as a 60-year-old. You think if he had stretched, he would not have injured himself.
Not only not injured himself, he would have had that thing through the uprights.
Right, he would have made him.
Yeah.
Amin had another question based on him walking 1.5 miles in Miami recently, which is, how far is too far to walk before you will call an Uber or a Lyft? Or what is the amount of distance that you will save the money and say, bleep it, I'll walk?
Brad's stretching, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that.
Is it helpful?
Yeah, I feel great.
Brad, do you stretch before you do your shows?
Yeah, I feel like I'm 4'5".
What is the amount of distance?
Yeah, 1.5 miles. I was like, this isn't enough to Uber. But then
I don't do distance. I do time. It depends. If I'm at Lollapalooza and it takes 45 minutes to get an Uber, and I put in Google Maps the walking directions are 40 minutes. I'm like, I'd rather just be on the move.
Let's assume that the Uber is going to get there within 5 minutes. Like, there's no wait for the Uber.
So then probably like a 12-minute walk?
It depends on how hot it is outside, but generally my cutoff is 0.8 of a mile.
0.8 of a mile.
So you'll
Uber a
in
mile.
Florida. If it's New York, I'll hoof it.
Again, let me look, because
city walking is different. You're right, Mike.
I don't want it to be conflated with because it's humid and I have swamp. No.
These are important factors.
No,
am I wearing underwear?
As the economists say, all things.
What shoes am I?
Swass is a thing.
All things staying equal, right?
Can I smoke in the Uber?
Ceteris paribus. Can I smoke in the Uber? Ceteris paribus, right? Everything is a constant. The only thing that we're changing is the distance. What is the distance? We're like, absolutely not.
I'm sorry to be laughing in the middle of you talking, but Chris Cody whispered to me and no one else. I guess Brad Williams overheard him. I've been useless this segment. And I wasn't.
That's not true. You questioned dynamism.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. He was right to question it.
This segment.
Because the thought appeared in my headphones, I wasn't sure whether it was something he said or I was just thinking.
You heard your inner monologue.
I was thinking to myself, how is he going to do 5 minutes of stand-up tonight based on how well he's done improv?
He's saving it all for tonight, apparently.
Dynamism.
Am I right?
Amin had something for you too, Witty,
Well,
because
I didn't get an answer.
Well, he gave you 0.8 of a mile.
No, that's one answer. It's a big room in there. Come
One
on.
answer.
Well, you made everything a constant. I'm like, my constant is very humid. I just can't wrap my brain around it.
You're in Portland. It's August. It's 82 degrees. There's like 20%
I'll walk 5
humidity.
miles.
Depends on what part of town.
Yeah.
Well, I've walked all over Oakland, Portland. I've walked all over.
You have not walked all over.
No, I walked through San Francisco through the Tenderloin. I'm like, why are they telling me to go this long way?
Do they have those scooters in this city? With
that's the thing. It's like I would exhaust every
understand.
available. I would try a city bike. I would try a scooter. I would try public transportation. Anything before you get to an Uber
But
for 0.8 of a mile.
0.8? That's your cutoff.
I mean, I would say probably. I'd say it's like a minute walk. It's like a 17-minute walk is probably as long as I'll go.
The 1.5 miles that I walked took me 34 minutes. Because I was looking at it, I was like, 1.5 miles. I mean, like, I'm not going to get an Uber and then, like, get out the Uber immediately. That's just ridiculous,
That's
right?
what it takes generally.
Yeah, but then I was like, at the end of the walk, I was like, what an incredible waste of time.
What?
Like,
What do you mean?
35 minutes to get, like, a mile down the road?
Well,
Which is
you're
ridiculous.
here often. Imagine if that was your first time in Miami. Ooh, the sights, the sounds.
There are a lot of variables
skin.
that
The swamp bats.
Mike Ryan is throwing in here, and I don't know why we just skipped past, and maybe it's because he's just a serial liar and we're just numb to it. Stugotz just threw out there 5 miles. I'll do 5 miles.
In Portland. Just in Portland.
No,
it's very scenic,
I don't know when the last time. What part of Portland?
There's nowhere on earth you would do 5 miles.
I have some follow-ups. Is weed legal in the city I'm walking in?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
5 miles. I mean,
Certainly in Portland.
I can. What, you don't have me walking 5 miles? I can walk 5 miles.
I think you
On the
can
golf
do
course,
it. You
right?
wouldn't choose to
In Tahoe-
walk
in Tahoe,
for 2
we walked
hours.
7
Go walk
miles.
5 miles right now.
No, but to Mike's point, so when you go to these concerts, for me, it's just Ed and Company, but Mike goes to a bunch of festivals. When you go to them, some Ubers are very hard to get to. I walked from my hotel to Shoreline Amphitheater in California. It was a beautiful day, and I was high as fuck. But I walked about, I don't know, I want to say it was like a 45-minute walk. It was
2 miles
great.
in the wrong direction, and then you had to go back. And
Much longer than 2 miles in the wrong direction before I realized, hey, I'm walking the wrong way.
Back in the Fitbit days, I'd put in like 18 miles at music festivals. This is crazy.
Dan, what's the number for you?
I'd walk about a mile.
A mile?
Yeah.
Anything more than a mile, you're like, get the
Yeah,
Uber.
but Miami matters to me. I'm not going anywhere in the summer in Miami. I'm not anywhere.
No, I get it because by the time you get there, you're going to be all gross and sweaty and all that. That's why I was trying to figure out, like, the core of it is how far is too far, regardless of the conditions. How far is too far? Because I was struggling with this. I was like, am I wasting time? Am I doing an inefficient thing here by saying I'm not going to Uber? It's just 1.5 miles away. But ultimately, it was, 35 minutes out of my life that I'll never have back.
this isn't fair to ask Dan because he walks around Cleopatra style with 4 people holding him and him sitting on a carpet.
Yeah, that's true.
That's walking.
I'm still in pain.
You think 4 people could lift down?
Danny Improv tonight. Check him out.
That's right. Not just
Professional
tonight.
funny man.
Not just tonight. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Dania Improv. Brad Williams will be there with Chris Cody, who's doing 5 minutes tonight, and Amin will be there. Amin will be there tomorrow night.
Mic on? There it is. Yeah. Amin will be there tomorrow night. He is not doing stand-up. But it's just Chris.
What? That is not happening.
It's just Chris.
It's not happening.
No, it is.
No.
It is.
All right, we can keep going.
Chris, okay, I'll do stand-up tomorrow.
I'll go to that one. I'll go to that one. I would like to see that.
Amin, you also had something for Whittingham because you didn't like that
man.
Whittingham was the defender who calls out strategies loudly and yells at everyone to get back in soccer.
Shut up. We're playing pickup ball, not like league. A league game, okay. We're going to be a little bit more organized. If we're playing pickup, I hate the guys that talk, man. Just shut up and play. I want to play my game. You play your game. I don't.
It's a team game.
No, I get it, but like, it's one thing to say, "Hey, I got 2 back here." Like, oh, okay. Versus fall back. Oh, shut that guy. Too many forward. Shut up. I want to go forward. Someone else can go back.
So what fun in pickup basketball games? Some guys not getting back on defense. You're just like, I'm cool with it. You want to chill up there? No big deal.
I'm not gonna be like the most I'll do is whose man is that? That's the
Passive-
So
passive
right, so
aggressive.
if I passive aggressive,
Right.
whose man is that?
I can't guard everyone. I mean,
That is very passive. though.
Whose man is that?
That is not
Well,
leadership.
by the way, speaking of whose man is that, I got a great story. We're playing the Wizards, and Antoine Jameson is just cooking the ever-loving hell out of Amari Stoudemire. I'm talking about, if you remember Antoine Jameson, he had a very unorthodox game. These little runners and floaters and up and unders and would shoot the three, but he has like a weird form and all that. And so we call timeout, and Amari gets back to the huddle and says, "Whose man is that?" And everyone is just in stunned silence, like, that's your man. And he pauses for a second and says, "Then where was the help?" It's like such a Stugotz move.
We have coming up in the show Tim Kirkshin, and also Mike Schur is going to make an appearance with Tim Kirkshin, which frightens me because they dork out so much on baseball that they can unspool for 10 minutes. They're so excited to be around each other. I heard you talking about this some with Samson. I was surprised by this as someone who has covered baseball almost as long as Kirkshin. Like, I was on a beat when he was on the beat. There was a no-hitter in the World Series last night, and I did not care.
well, combined no-hitter.
But there was a no-hitter in the World
It's not really a no-hitter.
Series last night.
I got a text alert saying, "Hey, there's a no-hitter going on in the World Series," and I just went on living my life.
That was fairly surprising to me, though, as a reaction to exist in me, that there was a World Series no-hitter last night, which at almost any point in my life would have been an enormous seismic thing and not something that Stugotz says, "Please, combine no-hitter, get out of here."
I mean, I hate the combined no-hitter. Like, do what Don Larson did, okay? Perfect game, okay?
Do the thing that's happened once in the history of the sport.
Start to finish, exactly. Then I'll be impressed.
LSD
A
as
combined
well.
no-hitter? Come on, please.
On LSD.
The combined no-hitter. He has a point. Doesn't do it. The Astros, how many times have they done that?
How many times?
I think they're
How
like
many
the
times?
the
How many
Houston
times have they done that?
Houston Astros are like the Houston Astros of getting combined no-hitters. Like it's their thing.
Again, though, they haven't done it in a World Series. It's not, when you say it's happened one time, this is the first combined no-hitter in the history of the World Series.
But if ESPN is sending out alerts like Javier, I think he was a starting pitcher last night, if he has a no-no going into the 8th inning, don't you think people start tuning in for that? Because it's one guy start to finish. There is a difference when relievers come in to finish it off.
What
6th inning.
They should have put that alert out in the 6th inning. Or like before they pulled him.
I got that text in the 6th inning, and I just assumed he'd already been pulled from the game because that's what baseball is now.
Do you guys find that part of it interesting, though? Because I'm guessing, like, we're lifelong baseball fans around here.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that if it's true for us, it's probably true for a lot of the people listening.
Dan, let's assume that the technology existed in 1998, right? When baseball was crazy and everyone and Sammy and Mark McGwire made us love it again, and the Yankees were on top of the world and everything. If you got a text alert saying the Yankees are pitching a no-no through 8 innings or whatever, would you get excited and tune in? Or would
I'd
you
already be watching
Yeah, I'd
back
be watching
then.
Pettit.
No, but let's assume you weren't.
Pettit's.
Let's assume.
Or Cone.
No, I would be. But
And I guess what I'm
But to your
asking,
point-
ceteris paribus, is it?
to your point, I'm sure if there was texting alerts in the 1940s about horse racing, people would be like, this is amazing. It's just times have changed.
So it's because you had better things to do, like watching an on-demand TV show and wrestling.
Yeah, better things to do last
What was
night.
the third game you watched? Oh, you watched.
I watched Tyler Hero's game winner. That
yeah.
was a travel.
They traveled, yeah. Shuffled his feet.
Do you think that Mike Schur and Tip Kirkshin will be bored by a combined no-hitter?
No.
I'm
love it.
I'm gonna lay out. The last thing that's a huge achievement. The last thing that it needs is some jerk just saying, I didn't care, I didn't watch. Like, people care passionately about baseball. It's a World Series. It's been a good back and forth World Series with a really electric crowd, especially in Philadelphia. It's a cool moment. Let them have it. Let them go off.
Stugotz will love this one. Joey Crawford's wife went to the game last night.
Really?
To the World Series game, yeah. I know this because I sat next to Joey Crawford. Hit the music.
What? That is the lamest look at me, Louie, I have ever heard. Like, that, I don't that is not a look at me,
sat next
Louie.
to Joey
Why
once,
would
I mean.
anyone look at you for that? Why would Stugotz
For the second
love-
straight game, you've sat next to Joey Crawford.
That's right.
Amazing.
Look at me,
Why do you think that Stugotz would love that? And I'm glad that Stugotz sold it for you, but did you not wonder to yourself when he said it, Stugotz, why does he think that I would care that Joey Crawford's wife was at the game last night?
I think Amin thinks I love all things Look at Me, Louie. That's all.
That and also,
But yes, I questioned it.
Stugotz loves random names from like 20 years ago.
I do.
Right? If you give Stugotz, if I say, for instance, like Mendy Rudolph, like does it
who?
Oh, okay, never mind.
Do you have a favorite Joey Crawford moment?
Yes, him telling me his wife was at Game 4 of the World Series last night.
Look at me,